Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Fikri Bin Hasmori. Today I will present our group project which is Masonry Works. First, let me introduce my group members, Hafizi, Hasanuddin, Lutfi Fitri and Mustaqim. Okay, introduction of our project. Masonry unit are laid with cement mortar which bind them together to create a structure. Due to the individual masonry units, masonry construction tends to be quite labor intensive because of the cement, clay or stone nature of the masonry material. Masonry construction tend to be durable and often require little maintenance. Next is our project background. The report are proposed to develop of 20 units of 5-story lecture room building at UTHM. This project will develop in multi-phases, offering a lot of facilities. Hazard identification and risk analysis was carried out for construction activity in masonry work. The different segments of activities were divided into high, medium, and low depending upon their consequences and likelihood. We have identified the most masonry work activity that can lead to health and safety to the worker. Next is our project objective. The purpose of this report is to look into any potential hazard that have developed or are expected to arise during building site operation. Apart from that, the objective of this project is to prioritize the safety of the employees first when performing masonry works. Okay, for the project activity, first picture show project activity for concrete block masonry. First is produce mortar, after that place mortar, then lay first course of structure brick, after that utilize a level, and then lay second course, and after that lay 3 header bricks, then lay other level courses, and use level until target height is reached. Next picture is the project activity for brick masonry. First is site selection, after that preparation of clay for brick manufacturing, molding of clay for brick manufacturing, then drying of raw bricks, after that burning of the brick. That's all from me, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I will continue with the control measure. So, control can be defined as the elimination of a risk to the worker who entered any side of the work. So, there are 4 possible control for a hazard that will be discussed in this session. So, let's begin with the elimination and substitution. So, elimination and substitution used either to remove the hazard from the workplace or substitute the less hazardous material or machine. So, the process of removing a hazard from a workplace is known as the elimination. Meanwhile, for the substitution is the process which doing a same work in the less hazardous way is sometimes is possible. So the next is engineering control. So engineering control is method for reducing the risks that are built into the design of a plans, piece of equipment or process. So engineering control is classified into the 3 types, which is a process control, enclosed or isolation of the source of pollution, and a ventilation. So the third is administrative control. Administrative control is the change the way it's done, such as the work scheduling, policies, and other rules of the work practice, such as the standard and operating procedure. Administrative control generally disliked because they are difficult to implement and maintain, do not provide a reliable way to reduce the exposure. So the last is a personal protective equipment. Worker wear the personal protective equipment to reduce the exposure, such as a contact with the chemical or noise exposure. When the other control measures are effective, and additional protect is a requirement. Employers must be aware of the limitation of the personal protective equipment. So the employers also need to provide a PPE to the worker at the site work. So the example of the PPE is include the glove, face shield, eyes protection, and so on. So I think that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fikri Bin Hasmori. My metric number is CF20003. So for my part of assignment on occupational safety and health, I will about to tell you about the risk estimation. I separate the risk estimation by 3 degree of the injuries. First is the minor injuries, secondly is the major injuries, and the last one is death. So risk that could occur on masonry work activities is like carrying the brick, exposed to dust and fumes, falling from height, and the falling wall.
The metric that we'll use to determine the relative risk is we need to multiply the rating value of likelihood and the severity. The rating for likelihood and severity is from 1 to 5. for the likelihood, number 1 is impossible, where it is very unlikely and has never happened. Number 2 is remote, is not known to occur after a lens absence. Number 3 is conceivable, it might occur at some point in the future. Number 4 is possible, that has a high probability of occurring and is not uncommon. And the number 5 is most likely, the most likely consequence of the hazard or event happening. For the severity, the number 1 is negligible, where it have minor abrasion, laceration and injuries requiring first aid. Number 2 is minor, that cause disabling injury that is not permanent. Number 3 is serious, permanent disability or non-fatal injury. Number 4 is fatal, approximately one single fatality, major property damage if hazard is realized. And number 5 is catastrophic, which is a number of casualty, irreparable property damage and loss of productivity. With the multiply, we will get the 3 range of the risk. The first range is the low range, 1 to 4, that can deem acceptable and additional risk reduction may not be required. The second is the medium, from the 5 to 14, is risk necessity as planned strategy to manage the hazard and if necessary the implementation of interim measure. And the high risk is the 15 to 25, is required immediate action to eliminate the hazard. All of the risk assessment form, action and their completion date must be documented. And here are the example of the table for the calculation of the severity, time, likely.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Fikri Bin Hasmori and my magic number is CF190125. Okay, next, for now I will explain and discuss about the hierarchy table for our activity, which is masonry work or known as bricklaying work. Okay, so for this bricklaying work, we found out that we have 10 hazards in total, which are 7 from them safety hazards and the rest is health hazards. Okay, so let's go for the first hazard, which is the human falling from height. We conclude that from the hierarchy table, we calculate the likelihood and severity. We got the risk is 20 score, which is this hazard is really high risk, therefore they need the control measures really well. Okay, next we go for accidentally falling object and pinching. So from these hazards, we found out that accidentally knocking got 4 score, falling object 6 score, pinching is 4 scores. So for the accidentally and pinching, they categorize for the low risk hazards, and for the falling object from height is medium risk. Okay, but still all these hazards really need the control, including the engineering control, administrative and the PPE control. Okay, so we go for the sharp edge that will occur bodily injury to the workers. We got that is low risk hazards, but still needs the controls. And then the workers possibly to be struck by mobile equipment in construction site where can occur body injury, and that was really high risk, which is 20 score, needs the controls. And then another high risk hazards, which is back strains and the silica dust, which is the back strains will lead to spinal cord damage and the silica dust will lead to breathing problems. And then the flying debris, which is medium risk, need controls too. And the last one is heat illness from working outdoors, which is categorized in medium risk. Okay, so overall from the hazards we have 4 high risk, 3 medium risk and the 3 low risk.
Most critical safety and health that we get from the hierarchy table of masonry work is first, the workers falling from height, second, being struck by mobile equipment on the construction site, and third is the respirable silica from cutting and mixing masonry product with relative risk of 20. Some of these give impact to the society, which is it may develop inflammation and scarring due to silica dust particle being entrapped in lung tissue, and mobile equipment will rise the risk of incident in society. However, some engineering practice have been done to control and reduce the risk, which is First, using a wet cutting method, and second, installing additional signage. This will give a clean and safe air to those who reside around the project site. It might also decrease air pollution.
Next is for the overall result that machinery work are frequently exposed. First is tumble, fall and slips, hefty objects falling, excavation collapsing or collapsing in, wall that fall away or collapse, object with sharp edge or defect like a timber with nail in it, exposed to high heat and control contact with them, electric joke, exposed to the toxic substance, exposed to building dust in excess, lugging, lifting or moving large object. For the safety precaution can reduce workplace injury is to install study work surface, wear safety shoes, wear additional personal body protection equipment like masks, goggles, and so on. Do some housekeeping regularly. Avoid manual lifting. Wear compatible work clothes. Drink enough water to avoid dehydration. Minimize the contact with harmful material. And last one is to wear a mask. So that's all from my part of the project. Thank you.
For the conclusion, the accident are things that happen out of the blue. At work, is important to do preliminary risk assessment. Masonry works involve people, machine and tools. So the people in charge and the people doing the works need to take and know about a lot of precaution. Any accident that happen must be reported and documented. The relative risk between 50 to 25 is a high risk and required quick action. In this report, the high risk situation are a worker falling from a height, being struck by mobile equipment on a construction site, and a respiration in silica dust from cutting and mixing masonry product, which has a relative risk of 20 and can cause a lot of death and damage to property. Risk assessment, in short, provide a safer and a healthier place to work for employees.